Welcome back, sixth graders. Today is week 6, Thursday, May 14th. We're continuing to learn about the boom and the bust. And we're focusing now on the bust, or the Great Depression. So what was the Great Depression like? Well, the Great Depression was a global economic crisis in the 1930s. 20 to 40% unemployment in the US, meaning people who didn't have jobs. And there were severe struggles for many, including homelessness and hunger. Now, to give you a little comparison, in 2019, we had about 3% unemployment. Right now, in our situation, we've got about 15%. Now, let's compare COVID-19 to the Great Depression. So COVID-19 is a global crisis like the Great Depression. Right now we're in a pandemic. That means it's a disease across the world. There's an effect which is increasing unemployment due to preparing for and preventing the spread of the disease. Now, one US response is the federal government is pumping trillions of dollars into the economy to support families and businesses. And will this help? For now, maybe. Now, economic beliefs at the beginning of the Great Depression are different than they are now. Now, by 1929, the federal government had never taken over the economy and at a large scale and pumped money, this amount of money into it, large amounts. So what caused the Great Depression? Well, there's not one specific situation, but many factors. And that's not just the stock market crash in 1929, and it's a little complicated. Before the Great Depression, there were economic problems in a number of areas. One was for farmers. Now, during the boom years, farmers struggled. Their crops lost value. They were used to producing huge amounts of food during World War I, but now that the war is over, not as much food is needed by American farmers. Many farmers now are going broke. So that's one little factor. What about the stock market crash in 1929? Well, it is one factor, but not the sole cause. So what about it? Well, how does the stock market work first? So people can make money buying stocks of a company, stock or a share. They can't always make money. When the company does well, stock value increases. And shareholders make money. So for example, your $100 that you invested in your shares maybe turns into $200 over time. Now, the crash happened in 1929, and that was about the end of the boom. The value of stocks went down to zero, and many people lost money. However, only 3% Americans purchased stock then, so this didn't really hit everybody right away. And the economy was still okay for about another year. One other cause of the Great Depression would be bank credit. Here's an example. So banks loan money to people to buy things and start businesses. However, banks were loaning more money for people to invest in stock and real estate than they would, say, to start businesses. And where does the money go when stocks don't make money? Well, people still have to pay back the banks. So one factor, gradually when people went back to banks and wanted their savings or cash from the banks, and then this caused bank rushes, crowds lining up at the banks wanting their money, and then banks called the loans. That means people they lent money to, they want the money back all of a sudden. Borrowers could pay the banks back. Actually, it's could not pay the banks back. I should have wrote that. And then banks then had no money and couldn't give people their cash or savings. And this caused many people to lose their life savings. Banks no longer were able to offer credit then to borrowers. So there's this thing called the circular flow model. So with no credit and money stops flowing. So in the circular flow model, people work, right? So people are working and then they earn wages and then they're able to then spend their money on things and then they get goods and services, right? And then that keeps people working because people selling stuff are able to pay employees, right? And then the cycle just keeps on feeding itself. But how does this get fixed? Now, the belief at the time was that the role of the federal government was to be limited, and it had not stepped into a large degree to solve financial problems. I'm going to explain the rest of this in the next video, so pause for a sec.